Hello everybody, Cherise Kachil here and welcome back to my channel. It has been a while since the last time that I've uploaded, but let's be honest, I think I say that in like every intro of my every video. But anyway, I'm glad that right now I've been given the opportunity to be able to share a short encouragement to all of you guys. But before I start, I think I need to give a brief introduction about myself because it is quite related to what we're going to be talking about. So for those of you who don't know, I am a wife, I'm a mother, and I am a young pastora here in the Philippines. I am currently pastoring a church with my husband here in Alaminos, Pangasinan, which is such an honor and such a privilege. And for those who thought that it was all part of the plan, since I'm a pastor's kid and my parents have been pastoring different churches, I'd like you all to know that no, it was not part of the plan. It was totally unexpected. In fact, I'm not sure if I've shared this in my previous testimonies because I've uploaded a few videos in the past wherein I talked about how I decided to walk in my calling, when I decided to walk in my calling, and the journey regarding all of that. But I don't think I shared the part wherein I doubted myself. And I am not joking when I say that. I'm serious. If you think that I thought I deserved what I was getting into, then you were so wrong, because I never thought that way, especially in the beginning. And there's a difference in being humble, and there's also a difference in being insecure. And some people call insecure people humble, but being insecure and living an insecure life does not please God, because if you are insecure, then that doesn't make you humble, but it makes you a person who is unsure or probably even ignorant of your true identity, which can be found in God. Because the more that we get to know God, the more that we seek His face, the more that we are confident in who we are and who God created us to be, and we get to know ourselves more. So when we dive into the Word of God, we don't only get to know more of who God is, but we get to know more of who we are in Him. And one of the things I've discovered along the way is how precious and valuable we are in God's sight. It's really important that we see ourselves the way that God sees us, because it will ruin our lives if we're always looking down on ourselves, if we're always doubting ourselves, if we're always thinking that we can't do it. You know what I mean? If we're always thinking that we can't do what God has called us to do. So anyway, back to the beginning, before my husband and I started walking in our calling, I was full of doubt. Do you know that I even had a few mentors in my life who were saying, oh, what if this is what you're gonna be doing? What if you're gonna be leading a church? And I'm like laughing at them, literally just laughing at them, because in my head I'm thinking, you have got to be joking. You can't be serious about what you're saying right now, right? But then they kept mentioning it time and time again, and I give thanks to God that He uses people in our lives who see something in us that we do not see in ourselves. And God uses those people to help us to see our value, to help us to see what we're capable of doing. And sometimes we need those reminders, because sometimes we just don't understand how much potential we have. But then there are those very special people in our lives who call out the God-given abilities that they see in us, and those mentors are one of them. They're the ones that reminded me that I can do it, because I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. But anyways, in the beginning it was really hard because I was full of doubt about myself, and one of the things that was really hindering me from walking in my calling is the thought that I am too young. And this is what we're going to be talking about tonight. Maybe not even specifically your age may be hindering you, but this topic or this discussion will be able to help you if there are several countless things stopping you or hindering you from walking in your calling or in doing what God has called you to do. In my case, it was my age. I knew ever since I was young, ever since I was a kid, that I would love to be in the ministry, that I would love to teach and preach and minister to people and take care of people, take care of souls. And I knew that I would marry a pastor. I knew all of those things, but I just didn't know how God would get me there, and I didn't know his timing. I didn't know what His plan was. So many of us have an idea of what we're gonna do, right, in our lives, but we are not sure how we're we're gonna do those things, when we're gonna do those things. And that's when God just shocks us, because He's like, this is how I'm gonna do it, this is when I'm gonna do it. And sometimes it's just hard to grasp, because we have our own plans, we have our own timetable, but God has His own. And that's why it's so important to just surrender to His will. And that's what I had to struggle with in the beginning. I just constantly was questioning myself, like, how can this be? How can this be? How can this be? But you know what? God saw in me what no one else could see. Actually, I feel like crying just thinking about that, because I knew God called me, but I never knew that He would do it in the way that He would. That He would use me at such a young age. My baby's crying. I'll be back. So back to what I was sharing earlier. I never knew that God would use me at such a young age. And it wasn't easy all the way, especially in the beginning when you're earning the trust of your flock. It's not to say that you're trying to prove yourself, but you're just being consistent in everything that God is asking you to do. And you're not worrying actually about your reputation or what people think of you. I think if I would have been controlled by the opinions of people, then I would have quit really early. I give all glory to God that my husband and I have been pastoring this church for going on 7 years already. And I know that a lot of people have been pastoring longer than that, and I'm not in any means trying to say that we're the best or that we've got it all, figured out. We're still a work in progress, and I think as long as we are alive and breathing, that there will always be something new to learn. It's so important to keep an open heart. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the game. What matters is that your heart is open and you're always willing to learn, and you're not ever thinking that you know it all. So that's what has kept my husband and I in this constant pace of growing together and maturing together, because we're just so open. And whenever we get the chance to learn, we really take those opportunities. So none of us are perfect. Even you who are watching right now, myself, none of us, even if we are ministers, it doesn't mean that we never make mistakes, and it doesn't mean that there's nothing more that we need to learn. And we must be careful to always keep a humble, pliable, open heart to God in whatever He wants to teach us and deal in us. So anyway, it was really hard for me because there was a lot of criticism, there was a lot of persecution from the people around us, and later on it was truly confirmed that a lot of the people that we've been with for even a few years already just later on came up to us and admitted that in the beginning they were doubting, like, why did God choose us, or did God really choose us, and we're too young and inexperienced and this and that. But then they humbled themselves. I praise God because they humbled themselves before the Lord and before us, and they acknowledged that yes, God does have a calling upon your lives. Yes, God is using you in powerful ways. And I'm not making this video to lift us up, my husband and I, but what I want is to encourage each and every one of you. If you feel limited, if you feel like God cannot make use of your life to be a light and inspiration to others, you are so wrong, and you have believed the lie of the enemy. Because I'm here to tell you, I'm here to remind you that it doesn't matter what your past is, it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter what hindrances are before you today. If God called you, if God has appointed you, no man can put you down. And you know what I constantly hold on to whenever I feel intimidated, whenever I feel fearful, whenever I feel discouraged? I always go back to Jeremiah chapter 1. This is what I stand by. This is what I hold on to. When the Lord reminds me, before I was formed in my mother's womb, God already knew me. God knows my name. God called me. God has chosen me. God appointed me to be a prophet to the nations. God has called me by my name, and He has given me a purpose and a calling. and He will give me the grace and ability to do it. And if you're familiar with Jeremiah chapter 1, the reason why I can relate to it so much is because Jeremiah answered back to the Lord after God told him, I've called you, I've appointed you. And Jeremiah goes, I can't speak for you. I'm too young. That's exactly what Jeremiah was feeling. And I can relate to that so much. Like, why me? And I'm sure so many people right now who have even done amazing things. It's not like they just woke up one morning and they were already at that level. In the beginning, there was a lot of things that they had to get through. There was a lot of things that they had to overcome, those fears that they had. And it's so important that we look to God and not ourselves. That's the reason why we do feel insecure so many times. That's the reason why we feel like we're not able, is because we're looking at ourselves instead of looking to God. Remembering that He is the one who gives us the ability, He is the one who gives us the grace to do His will, to do what He has called us to do. It's not about our own strength. It's not about our own ability. It's about what He can do through us, because He is the one who has given us those gifts, those talents. So we just need to surrender it back into His hands and allow Him to do what He wants to do with those things that He has given us. It doesn't matter anymore what they thought of me before, because from the beginning, there was someone who believed in me, and that someone is you. That's what I was telling the Lord during those times, and I was just brought to tears, and I was so overwhelmed. Like, Lord, thank you. Thank you that you believed in me. Thank you that you saw something in me that no one else could see. Thank you that you saw my worth. You saw my value. You saw what I could do through you. And that's just something that I constantly go back to. And another verse that's really encouraging is found in 1 Timothy, where I'm sure it's familiar with all the young ones. It says, don't allow anyone to look down on you who are young, because God can use your life. But let's not forget that that's not all that it says. Like, it's also saying that we must live a life wherein we're being a good example to the people around us. We're living a life of purity and holiness, and they should be able to see it in our lives. They should be able to see it in our faith, in the way we love people. This is in no way to lift the young people up in pride, wherein they're not even able to receive anymore from the people around them because they think they know it. Oh, God called me, so it doesn't matter what you guys say. That's not what I'm saying, because we should be able to receive from different people, young or old, and honor those people, because you're not the only one whom God has given wisdom to. There's a lot of people around you whom God can use, and you just need to stay open and receive from them, because you can grow through their wisdom. So I'm not saying to just shut your ears when an older person comes up to you, because you're like, don't look down on me. You know what I mean? That's not what this verse is trying to say. But what it is trying to say is, don't allow anyone to tell you that you can't do it just because you're young. That's what God is trying to tell us. He's encouraging us and telling us not to allow our age to become a limit in our lives, to become a limitation in our lives. That it doesn't matter how old you are, God can allow your life to be a light and an inspiration to the world. So that is my testimony, and I just wanted to hop on here and tell you guys, you are so special. God has such a great plan in your life, and just allow the Lord to mold you. It's so important that we allow God to purify our hearts. It's not a one-time thing. It doesn't happen just in one season of our lives and then it's done. This is a constant thing that we must embrace, which is change. It's a constant thing that we must embrace, which is that we're always in a process, because even when we finish one process, we're going to be led to another process, because there's always a next level that we should be, striving to reach. So if you're feeling discouraged right now, and maybe there's even some people putting you down or saying you can't do it, or you're this, you're that, I just want to encourage you to stop listening to the voices of the people around you and listen to the only voice that matters. Listen to God's voice. Stop asking the question to yourself, like, what do they think of me? And try asking yourself right now, what does God think of me? Dive into His presence, dive into His word, and you will discover how valuable you are in God's sight. that He believes in you. When no one else thought you could do it, God knows you can do it. God has given you that grace that is specifically patterned to help you, to nourish you, to do what God has called you to do. So don't look down on yourself anymore and start believing what God says about you. He called you. He knows your name, and He has a great plan for your life. And I hope that this would serve as an inspiration to you guys, that if God can use me, then God can use you too. God bless you all. Bye.